All right, we're back. It's KRISTY Majors, Pretty Boy Floyd, and so much more. Matter of fact, you gotta clue us in on your background. I know coming from New York, those were some great days, man. Back in the '70s with the Dolls and the Ramones, and just that whole CBGB scene and everything. Talk about coming up and.
It was a great scene, actually. One of my first concerts were the Ramones over at CBGB's Sunday Matinee, all ages show. Incredible, changed my life.
Had they put out their first album, or where were they in
Yeah.
the chain?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, changed my life, and it was a small little scene, but it was like strong.
Yeah,
it was strong.
The energy. I mean, just the pogoing and
The talent,
energy in the room.
The talent that was there, it was incredible. You had everything from like Talking Heads to Blondie to the Posmatics to
Dead
the
Boys.
Ramones to Dead Boys to, I mean, there was just such a wide variety. And then as you got a little bit later, then there was that whole thrash scene, with Anthrax and
the hardcore bands.
Yeah, the hardcore SOD and all that stuff, Overkill, everything. And so going to Moore's Brooklyn, that was like intense and crazy, So it was a great small scene, but it was powerful, it was pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, from a little club, in the Bowery, I mean, they influenced so many people. And when the Ramones started hitting the road, I helped them do a lot of their first shows up in the Seattle, Vancouver, the Northwest, and you could just feel a change in the air. The Clash were coming, the Pistols were coming, the Damned. I mean, it was just an exciting time that hard to describe to people. They weren't there.
It truly is. It was almost like when I moved here for the Sunset Strip days, 80s days. It was that was like a whole another scene that was like completely incredible. It really is hard to explain to somebody unless they've actually witnessed it or actually been there.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch videos, watch documentaries, watch the decline of Western civilization, or whatever, but unless you were there in the room and felt the energy, you're not gonna quite get it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you were actually there and witnessing it, you felt like you were being part of something that was magical and something magic that was happening and taking place. It was just it was pretty crazy. It was a real exciting time for music back then.
Yeah. So who were your heroes when you started growing up and thinking about playing the guitar? Who really influenced you?
Obviously, the first guitar song that I ever learned on an acoustic guitar that my grandfather helped me figure out was Blitzkrieg Bop. It was just so funny, but yeah, I love Johnny Ramone. Johnny Ramone was an incredible guitar player. Yeah. Even though he didn't play solos, but his down picking and everything like that was just
like a machine.
It was just incredible, and I loved him. I liked like real sloppy players like Ace Frehley.
Yeah. Johnny Thunders.
Johnny Thunders.
Right.
Those three were probably like my most favorite because they were just sloppy,
all gut,
and it was just more like fuck it, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and dig it or don't dig it, I don't care,
Mm-hmm.
I like that attitude.
Absolutely amazing stuff. So talk about deciding to move out to LA. Obviously, Motley Crue was happening. You saw, the Strip explode. And what year did you come out, and what was like a turning point?
I came out in '88, actually. Okay. I was pretty late coming out here. Yeah. I was playing in New York, and my band that I had in New York was like kind of like a glam thrash band. It was pretty funny. I think we were like the first band to ever really do that. And I remember, we had all this label attention and everything. We were on a bunch of Combat Records, Metal Massacre compilations. Right. We were on like the Moore's Brooklyn album that they put out and everything. But we just couldn't get a deal, because...
What was the name of the band?
Originally the name of the band was called Sick Bitch, but we couldn't get really people to book us, so we changed it to Jet Black at that time, so we moved it to Jet Black. But yeah, it was pretty funny. But I opened up for the Ramones several times. I opened up for Motorhead. I opened up for King Diamond, Overkill, SOD. I mean, we played with such a wide variety of bands. It was pretty crazy back in New York City, so but it was a good time.
Yeah.
And then but I just, I couldn't get a deal, and then you know, well, some of my friends who had moved from New York to LA were getting record deals after they'd been here for a few months. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's worth checking out the left coast.
Yeah, so I had a friend sending me...
And a little nicer winters, too.
Yeah, right, obviously, right? You know, so I had a friend send me, like, you know, magazines, Rock City Newses and BAMs and all that kind of stuff and everything. And there's all these ads wanting for bands and everything. So, you know, I just sent out a couple of tapes and set up a couple auditions, packed up everything I owned, and drove across the country, came out here and auditioned for a couple bands. And I think one of my auditions was for the guys who actually ended up being Pretty Boy Floyd.
Okay. Was this a recycler ad or... So many bands formed through the recycler.
I can't remember how it was, but it was like an actual picture with like 3 guys and then like a missing head.
Oh, it might have been a BAM.
Question
Maybe
mark.
A BAM
I don't know what it was, but yeah, I set it up with them. I think
I almost remember that ad.
I think one of the reasons why I joined the band was only because one they already had a rehearsal studio on Hollywood and Western. I don't know if you remember.
Oh,
that,
sure.
But yeah. 3-story buildings.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I was like, "Can I live here?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was just like, "Okay, cool. I think I'm in." You know, I'm like, I got a place to live.
Right.
So I think that was one of the things. But you know, we were all so young, and you know, back then. So I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, you know, we can shape. You know, I kind of see how this could go, and I could shape them into what I want them to do, because at that point they had never played a live show or anything, you know.
Yeah.
And I was already doing it for years back in New York, so I was just like, okay, you know what? I see some potential here that I can kind of like work with.
Right. So was it Steve's concept, or how did the band originally come together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I met the guys, I mean, at that point, there was a few songs that they had, and then I had brought some songs I had, and then we just, you know, we rehashed some songs, but they had lying around, some demos and some other things, and we just did that, you know, and we just made a demo, and then when I met them, I mean, I think all they owned was like shorts and like t-shirts, so I kind of like told them that, you know, yeah, we need to like kind of dress like this, and we need to do this, and here's how we should do. Because I remember when I walked into meeting them, I was wearing like leather pants and like a vest, and my hair all crazy spiked out, and like, you know, jewelry and makeup and everything, and they were just wearing shorts and baseball hats. So I was like, all right, you know, but yeah, no, we all, I mean, I know that we all kind of wanted the same thing, and we all kind of like had the same kind of vision. It was just a matter of just, you know, getting in there and putting it all together.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Now, how long after that did the MCA deal come about?
Came pretty quick. It was like, I remember, like, I think after our 5th show, we were already, like, headlining, like, Kazari's and the Roxy, and doing, like, 2 nights, which was insane. And there was a guy, Bret Hartman.
Yeah, of course, Bret.
He used to run a fanzine in Seattle, and it was kind of funny because I used to sell my cassette tapes from my old band back in New York through his fanzine, and he was like kind of like a fan. So I used to talk to him, you know, briefly on the phone. And then when I met him, when I came out to LA, and he's like, yeah, you know, he gave me a business card. He's like, yeah, I'm Bret Hartman, and at that time he was working at CBS. And I'm like, Bret Hartman. I'm like, you're not the same Bret Hartman. I forget the name of the magazine. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm Chris from Jet Black. He's like, holy shit, oh, we put 2 and 2 together. And then we just became friends, and I started, every time we would finish up a demo, I'd go over there and I'd bring like a bunch of beers, bring a couple strippers and a bunch of weed, and you know, I think after the 2nd demo, I just had strippers dancing and him, you know, drinking, and we were smoking pot, and the next morning, we literally had a deal memo sent over to our attorney.
Yeah, I think he was working with Warren, wasn't he, over at CBS?
Yeah, he was working, at that time, Al Teller was running CBS, and then Al Teller got the job to run MCA with Richard Palmisi, and then he brought Bret with him. Okay. So when he brought Bret with him, yeah, we were one of the first signings that Bret did over there.
Amazing. So I know, like you say, it was kind of late in the game in a sense, because a lot of that music had, you know, been thriving through the whole '80s. You know, so did you get the feeling in retrospect that you were kind of coming in on the tail end of something? Obviously, you didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, at the time, obviously we didn't know it, but you know, I mean, obviously, the music scene was so saturated with so much music at that time, and so much of the same type of style of music that it was just really, really hard. And MCA had never even like broken a rock band like that. And
they inherited like Leonard Skinner and the Who. They didn't break those guys.
They had old school stuff,
Yeah.
Elton John, all that stuff. You know, Tom Petty, but you know they were
they weren't in the trenches breaking bands like Atlantic or Elektra was.
Exactly, they were like a top 40 type of label or something. You know, and like I remember actually sitting down at a table with Richard Palmisi and Al Teller going, and them asking us, so what do you think we should do? I'm just like, really?
Yeah, you guys got hundreds
like,
of years
really?
on us.
I'm 21 years old, man.
Right.
Come on, you're asking me what we should do? I mean, God, I don't know. Do the fucking pay to play, pay off some people. I don't know, man. Right? Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, pay somebody to play our stuff
I know
on the radio.
Those board meetings, man, were as square as they come. Man, guys sitting around trying to figure out what the kids want.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're not there, I don't think you could really shove it down their throat.
It was truly ridiculous, and I think we had done a lot of like touring, and we were touring a lot by ourselves, and we did some Shock and Messiah, we did some shows with Pussycat, with Warrant, and other things, and then I think the label pretty much just gave up on us at that point. We weren't charting, we weren't doing anything. Our single was dead in the radio, and you know, guys from LA Guns were my friends, and I just, you know, I asked them, I said, hey man, we need a fucking break, man. Is there any way we can get on the road with you? And you know, the Battle of Jane was just starting to blow up like crazy for them, and they were doing really good. And I remember, you know, they said, yeah, we're putting you on the road with us. And I remember Alan Kovac saying to me, going, why do you want to take Pretty But Fun on the road? Nobody gives a shit about them. And I remember Tracy saying, like, hey, nobody gave a shit about us at one point, so let's give him a chance. And
so was it Tracy in the band that helped you?
Yeah, it was like pretty much Tracy that helped me at that time, and got us on the road. And pretty much Alan Kovac said, yeah, you guys ain't getting any money, just to let you know that.
Right. And you're lucky to be on our stage.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, fine. I remember, and then I went and signed a publishing deal over in Japan. I think I got like sold half my publishing for Japan for like $30,000, and I was just like, okay, that's going to put us on the road. And then we went on the road with LA Guns, and we were playing like in front of 5,000 people every night. And then all of a sudden, our record charted, I think like 99 or something like that. And we started getting played on the radio, and then we shot a video for the ballad, and then all of a sudden the record label was like, oh, hey, wow, what's going on here, you know?
Right. You kind of had to spark it to get their interest.
It's just so funny, yeah. It's you know, and I've always been kind of that kind of person anyway. You know, it's like, you know, you want something
DIY,
done,
man.
you know, you want something done, you want something done right. You got to do it yourself. You know,
yeah.
It's like nobody's going to hand out things for you. You know, I mean,
you lead, they'll follow.
Even our agent at the time, you know, over at William Morris, when we signed with them, he promised us, you know, the whole Alice Cooper tour. You know, then the Alice Cooper tour comes around and we don't get it, and I'm just like, fuck you, John. Really? I'm not going to say his last name.
Right. We know
I'm
he
still
is.
friends with him, but yeah. But yeah, you know, I mean, it was just all, you know, so many people talk so much bullshit, so much crap, you know. But if you want something done, you know, go out there and fucking hit the road and do it yourself, and you know.
Everybody wants to jump on a train that's already moving.
Exactly.
But to rub two sticks together to get a little fucking spark, man, that's the hardest job.
So I felt, I really felt like we were out there doing it ourselves. You know, we were out there alone. We really had nobody back us. We didn't have no powerhouse management company. We had a record label that really just didn't give two shits about us. But you know, we believed in ourselves, and we went out there and we worked it, and we sat there after shows with fans, taking pictures, signing autographs, doing whatever we possibly could to just, you know, build a fan base and do whatever we possibly, you know, could happen, you know. Magazines, photo shoots, whatever we possibly could do, you know. We did. And we had a great publicist.
Sure.
That was the only thing that we did have.
Who was the publicist?
Her name was Lauren Ashley, actually. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
our independent publicist, and she did so good for us that they actually ended up hiring her at MCA after we were like everywhere.
Right. So do you think that's one of the reasons why people still 25, 30 years later care about Pretty Boy Floyd? Is it kind of you're one of the survivors of that era, and you also, were a fan band?
Yeah, I think I kind of compare it a little bit to this kind of scenario. Not really like the scenario, but kind of compare it to like if Motley Crue only put out Too Fast for Love, and then kind of like busted their ass, and then they kind of just like
The cult band.
Yeah, remain like a cult kind of band like that, with like a more unique look and a different kind of a sound or something,
Right.
than everything else. And I think that it became like kind of like a cult little underground kind of following that people really liked. It wasn't like we were getting played all over the radio.
Yeah,
and
you never got played out. You were
we
like
had platinum records, and
kind of like
a lot of those bands that went to that point, as soon as some of their music when it got off the radio, so their whole fan base died with it,
Right.
And they
Never
they never did the groundwork,
Yeah.
But we did the groundwork. We did a lot of that, a lot of the clubs, just belting it out in the clubs over and over and over again. Just we were constantly on the road, touring small clubs.
Yeah. So this is kind of like an acquired taste. You never got overplayed, and then fans of some of those other bands, you get turned on by other fans, and hey, maybe you didn't know about this band, check them out. And obviously the look was outrageous. The sound was in the pocket of a lot of the other bands they may like.
Right. But it
was by association.
It was a little different. Yeah, I think it was a little different only because it was very, anthemy sounding, and also like, I think the record was not so. Well, Howard Benson did a horrible job producing it, but
Howard was early in his studies.
Very early in his studies, and really did a shit job. It's funny if you look at his resume. I think we're the only band that he doesn't list on his resume.
Right.
He doesn't want anybody to know that.
You got to be reminded.
And he'll admit it. I mean, I've seen him many years later when he was already doing like POD and
right.
all the big stuff that he was doing, and he's just like, man, that's like one of the worst records I ever did.
Oh, So he's learning how to record on your dime. Huh?
Exactly, that's what happened.
Wow.
And I was listening to it. I'm just like going, God, this sounds like shit, man.
What was the studio? Where did you guys record it?
Oh, funny. We went to. He wanted us to get out of town, so we went to Philadelphia and we recorded over there. And I can't remember. I think it was like, I don't know what it was called. This place where Cinderella was recording all their stuff. The Bear or Bear Mountain. Bear Mountain, maybe it was called. We did it.
So his theory is if you get out of town, you'll be concentrated more? Or?
He thought that we would focus more because at the time when we had gotten signed, that was like the height of of the band on the Sunset Strip, and obviously you could there was women, there was drugs, there was booze, there was
right.
everything, so he thought that if we went out of town that or out of the state, that we would focus more and make a better record. And in the long run, actually, it turned out to be a really bad decision. So
yeah, I mean, especially with so many studios right here in LA.
It was a really stupid decision.
Added to the cost, we fish out of water.
We didn't bring our, it was like I didn't bring my amp, I didn't bring nothing, and I remember going through amps and this one sucks, and it's like, and it's the old we'll fix it in the mix, and I'm like, okay. Now I know that saying is a really true bad saying.
Yeah, the check's in the mail, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing ever gets fixed in the mix.
Right. So as a businessman today, you could kind of catalog some of the mistakes you guys made, so you can help other acts hopefully avoid those.
Exactly.
Yeah. You had to learn the tough lesson, but it all comes full circle. Cat House Live. Okay, it wasn't sold out, but it was a success. People were excited. It came out. What was that experience like for you? And, going into it, had you ever hung out at the original Cat House?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had hung out at the Cat House Many times. I used to go there. I was a regular there.
Yeah.
Bordello, same thing.
Was it Tuesday nights on Highland there?
Tuesday nights on Highland. I used to go there all the time. A lot of good stories from that place.
Yeah, man.
A lot of nights don't even remember waking up.
Right. Where's my wallet?
Exactly. But yeah, no, I used to frequent there a lot, and it was a really cool place to hang out. I mean, so and the whole experience on the Cat House show, I was actually surprised at the turnout, because I mean they've been doing M3.
They didn't have a major headliner. I'll put it that way.
They really didn't have.
Yeah, there was no GNR. There was no.
Right, no Motley Crue, no Def Leppard, no nothing. And I remember when I was talking originally to Live Nation, they said they were going to get like something like a Def Leppard or something like that, or something big. But between the lineup that they had and the amount of people that showed up there, it was good. It was almost kind of like what M3's been doing for years, and they took it out to LA. But I was actually surprised at how well it turned out, because LA for this type of music and this type of festivals and stuff like that, I just thought it wasn't going to translate.
Right, could have been worse. Definitely could have been worse. So talk about transitioning into the booking business. You had been out there on the road. What led you to want to be, in the agency business and now ultimately in the recording business?
Well, what I actually did was I went back to school, I think in like '92, after I was kind of said that I was kind of done with Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
And I went back to school and I got a paralegal degree, and I was going to possibly become an attorney. So at that time I was going to law school, and I called up my old attorney that used to represent Pretty Boy Floyd, and I said, hey, do you need like an intern or something like that or anything like that? And he's like, yeah, come on over. So I went over there and I was working, and at that time he had just put together this record label that was owned by Relativity, RED, and we were doing mainly smooth jazz music at that time, and but we had a couple artists actually that sold hundreds of thousands of records.
Right.
So then I just started working full time there, and it was like 5 of us working this record label and just working the smooth jazz community, and we were selling a lot of freaking records.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy, and I did that for about 5 years. And I think what got me into the booking business was I started working with some swing bands when swing was like really hot. And I put out the live Royal Crown Review record. I put out Jumpin' John, some other bands and everything, and I had like maybe like 10 swing bands that I was representing, and I was getting phone calls like off the hook, just like people wanting them for rap parties, people wanting them for their birthday parties, people wanting, I'm sure we did Charlie Stearns' birthday party, we did Gene Simmons' birthday party at Joey's Deli, we did so many Private Events Friends rap party, we did Vegas a whole week, so I was just like literally sitting there feeling phone calls from people who wanted swing bands, and I had so many of them. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be a booking agent. I'm already doing it as it is.
Fill the demand.
Yeah, and so I just started doing that, and and then I had met Chuck and a few other people. And I just put an office together, and we just started. And I started calling up my friends. Hey, do you need an agent? Hey, do you need this? Do you need that? And I was fortunate enough to learn, have a great mentor, Robert Toro, who was in the business for a long time, and he was a great mentor. Taught me a lot of amazing things about the music industry, and one of the most important things he told me was never burn a bridge. You never know where somebody's going to end up.
It's a small industry.
Exactly. So I never really did, And
a lot of bands come to town, think there's thousands of labels and millions of execs, and they find the hard way that everybody's connected by at least 3 degrees of separation.
Exactly. So yeah. So now it's been 18 years since I've had artists worldwide, and it's just it's every year it just seems like it's growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And getting better and better. Just
find that balance between the retro acts and some new acts and different genres, and
exactly.
I mean, what do you feel your niche is that you really understand the music and you guys are going to get in there and work it?
Well, I think it's I do a lot of niche music.
Yeah.
And I think niche music and the bands that are niche bands like Misfits or Ramones or
Yeah.
you know, even 80s rock or even old school punk and everything like that, you know, or even the guitar players, you know, like Michael Schenkers or Ingrid Malmsteens and stuff like that, you know,
Right.
they're niche music, you know,
Yeah.
and I really understand that, you know, I really get that, you know, I grew up with it
Yeah.
as a young kid.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you really can't compete with the mainstream pop act, so find your niches and work them.
exactly. So, you know, and you know, these are people that are still draw a lot of people.
It's a loyal audience.
Still have a loyal audience out there and loyal fan base. And you know, we do. You know, the bottom line is we do a good job for them.
Yeah.
You know, we do a good job for them. We work hard. We work our asses off. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. I think it goes a long way. And I think, you know, I don't do contracts at my office with the artists. And, you know, stay if you're happy, leave if you're not, you know. And
Pretty much a handshake deal.
you get, pretty much. And
Wow.
most of my artists who pretty much have come over to me stay with me.
So the artists like that if it ain't working, we can keep moving.
I think it's the best way to do. You know, if I'm doing my job and you're happy with me, stay with me, you know. If you're not, then you're free to go, you know. There's nothing holding you back. And so that's what I pretty much do, and that's how I operate. And, you know, most of my artists have been with me for over 10 years.
Yeah.
I haven't left and haven't gone anywhere else. So.
It's amazing stuff. So what is your role within the agency? Are you out there recruiting new bands, or are you actively booking?
Well, you know, we're really small as far as, you know, our operation. You know,
Yeah.
we keep everything like really small,
Right.
and tight niched. You know, so you know, we all just chip in and we all just do a little bit of everything. You know.
Yeah.
You know, problem solving, putting out the fires, doing the bookings. You know, talking to the artists. You know, I mean, that's a really big important thing. You know,
Right.
the
You
artists
got to
talk to the
massage
artists.
the egos and the politics.
You know, yeah. I mean, you know, they want their, you know, they want their phone calls answered. They want to know that somebody, you know, cares about them. You know.
Right. You don't want to be a list on a catalog page somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
So that's your advantage, obviously, over these big agencies that got thousands of artists and hundreds of employees and
they don't
all
give a
that.
shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. You know, it's like I give a shit. You know, I have a passion for music.
Right.
Everything I do revolves around music, and that's my passion. And I understand, and I can relate to these people when they want to get their phone calls answered,
Yeah.
and when something's going wrong out on the road, or you know, they pull up to a venue and a promoter is trying to short them or something,
Yeah.
you know, or a bus is breaking down. I've been there. I know
Sure.
what it's like, you know.
It's not easy on the road.
Yeah, so I've been there, and
You
I
need
know,
the
how, I know
support
how it
system.
feels. You know, it's like you don't want to feel alone out there. You know, you don't want to feel
Right.
like you're stranded out there. You know, you want to you have somebody out there who's like got your back.
Yeah.
You know,
The
and I do,
headquarters.
and I have my band's back. You know, I do whatever I can, even if it matters.
Yeah.
You know, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting on the phone and doing stuff. You know.
Now, did you have more bands on the Cat House show than any other agency?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much gave them the roster and let them choose.
Yeah, actually, and they're doing a punk one, and the same thing. Yeah, I got.
Oh, that's the John Reese thing?
Yeah.
That's San Bernardino?
Yeah. So they're
So
doing
you
a punk
got-
one too, and I got the same.
Who are
thing.
some of the
I
punk bands? What do you got?
like
UK
12 bands on
Subs, or
there.
who do you got?
Yeah, UK Subs, The Exploited, the Dickies, DI, Agent Orange. God, who else? I think I'm forgetting some of them. I don't know if the Misfits are doing that one. I'm not sure. Am I missing some? Untouchables, I think. I got.
Okay.
I think I like 12 of them. You know, 12
Wow.
Chaos or something.
And that's
yeah.
October?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to that. We're big supporters of Kevin Lyman and John Reese. And I mean, it's tough out there seeing, you know, the Warped Tour has somehow survived and keeps that thing growing. Always a big turnover, always new acts every year. You know, I know they had the old school punk stage for a while, but I mean, hats off to Kevin for keeping that thing alive, you know. I know Mayhem's having their trouble now, and, you know, it's a tough,
A lot of the festivals are
Yeah,
having lots of trouble.
it's
Yeah.
tough to take a show that big on the
They
road.
They actually told me the punk one's actually selling. Live Nation told me that the punk one's actually selling more than
Taste of Chaos?
than the Cat House one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, loyal audience. I guess they can't get enough of that. So
It's kind of funny when you put like so many bands together. You know, I guess, you know, and the ticket prices are low, it's an event,
It's a no-brainer, man.
People come from, all different places to come and witness it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's a cool thing,
So what do you think the future is of the concert business? Because as so much of this recorded music has become less value, a lot of people are looking to the road and the merch areas to kind of fill in the gaps to try and make a living. What do you think the pulse of the future of the concert business is?
That's where a true band makes their money, obviously, nowadays.
Yeah.
You could put out records all you want nowadays, and, the second day it's up, it's, free downloads, YouTube downloader, you can download a whole freaking album. I don't know why they, YouTube lets people put up a whole freaking album on their,
Yeah, the tech world doesn't help.
Yeah,
They use our content to sell their service, but they don't seem to have the content owners back.
Zero, and it's hard to catch these people too. It's the Russian websites, it's the India websites, it's all over the world. It's impossible to find them,
Right.
But yeah, you're really not going to make money. Most of the days nowadays, maybe people might be just buying singles, and that's about it. They hear a song, they're like, oh, 99 cents or whatever, or 79 cents. Okay, I'll buy that, whatever, blah blah blah. They'll download it. But buying full albums nowadays, it's very rare. So these artists out there, they really are making their money through touring, through merchandise, and I find another thing that really works really well is doing these VIP meet and greet type of things, and that's what I try and do with like some of my artists. Like, oh hey, you want to meet Yngwie Malmsteen? You know what? Well, great. We're gonna do a little package. $500. You get to come down to soundcheck. You get an autographed picture. You get to take a phone picture. You get to meet them. They put together some sort of special merch package that's only available for those people. And if they sell 10, 20 of them at each show, that really offsets a lot of the cost. And then another thing that sets off the cost too is some of these other bands, they want to buy onto the tours to open up. They want to play in front of 1,000 people,
at least somebody,
1,500 people. Instead of like going out there and trying to hammer it out there in front of 10 people. In their local hometown. So they might save up their money and work their ass off and just be like, hey, we'll give you $20,000, or we'll pay for so-and-so's bus if we can open up for them and go on right direct support, So you just got to get a little creative out there, and there's still money to be made.
Yeah. Is there a line you won't cross where you feel like, man, as a fan, that's not cool?
I try and facilitate, the artist needs. If the artist is like, I need X amount of dollars per show, or it's just really not worth it for me. I'm not going to make enough money.
Right.
I can't go out there comfortably in a tour bus. It's expensive to go out in a tour bus nowadays.
Right.
It really is. And so if they want to go out in a tour bus and they want to bring their techs and they want to, do it old school way, and they don't want to like cut back, like the Misfits do it, and they, still do it in an RV, like the Ramones were doing it in a van for their whole entire life, So if they want to still go out and be comfortable, because I can understand you're older, your body's just it's not built to tour.
Right. If you want to take the motel on the road, that's on you.
Exactly. So I just try and facilitate whatever their needs are, and make it happen for them, so they can actually come home with a good chunk of change, make their money, and be comfortable out there touring.
Sure. And you guys are strictly domestic, or do you get into Canada?
No, we do international.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of international.
So you have your cohorts in Europe and Asia?
South America, we do a lot. Mexico, Australia.
Yeah, talk about the growth of South America, because obviously it's kind of a giant that's been awoken now. Some bands, the Ramones, always did well down there, but talk about now, the availability of more shows, more bands willing to go down there.
It was doing really great, and I think that and like especially like Argentina and Brazil, it was doing really amazing. I think something happened with the economy down there not too long ago, where it's pretty much a it's a poor country.
Yeah. Not the average person doesn't make a big wage.
Right. Exactly. And
$50 is a lot to them.
Exactly. So if they have to pay $50 or $60 for a ticket.
Yeah, they're gonna be selective.
It's really tough for them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point when the economy was doing really great down there, that was not an issue. It was okay. It was you know, bands were selling out, you know, 5,000 seaters, not an issue. You were doing, you know, 2 shows in Argentina. You were doing Sao Paulo. You were doing Brazil. You were doing Rio. You were doing Lima. You were doing Peru. You were doing Chile.
Right.
And it used to be like a little tour
circuit
down there. Yeah. It's still there.
Softened it.
Softened down a little bit, you know, because of the economy, a little bit, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Bands just have to adjust, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, hey, the money you were getting 5 years ago is not the same amount of money you're going to get there now.
But if you want to go and cultivate an audience, again, it's new territory.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, too, it's like, you know, like bootlegging is completely legal down there. So, you know, there's nothing that you could do. I mean,
right, the t-shirt guys.
You show up to Brazil, and there's 10 million people selling T-shirts on the streets.
Wow.
And you can't do nothing about it. It's not illegal.
Right. Yeah. Good luck trying to shut down the dictatorship.
I mean, I actually went down there a couple of times. I saw some cool shirts. I actually bought some of them. I was like, that's a pretty cool shirt.
Right. They sell them cheap.
Yeah, they sell them pretty cheap, and some of them are pretty cool. They're good designs, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, but you know,
can't fight them, join them.
Hey, look, you know, I mean, I always say it's a good day if you get paid to play music.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, if it's $1 or whatever, $10,000.
Yeah.
If you're doing something that
you can make a living doing what you love, you're a rich man.
Exactly. Don't complain. Go down there, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and especially if you're getting to see the world and you're getting, you know, paid to see the world. It's a really great experience, I think.
Yeah. We'll talk about the recording process. Was that something you were always interested in? And kind of being a studio guy kind of completes a circle. You can help bands make the music and, you know, complete the whole process here with the booking.
Well, the studio stuff that I've been doing was it was more like me just out of like frustration, just sucking at not knowing what I was doing. You know, I would make demos, you know, on little 8 tracks, and they would just suck. So I just bought a Pro Tools rig and set it up and put it in a studio, and I would just start spending time in there, and pretty much learned how to run Pro Tools through YouTube.
Right.
I was just watching YouTube videos and being like, okay, how do I do this? Okay, how do I do that? Oh, that's what.
Shouldn't have a real mentor.
No, I just sat there and really just like learned it from trial and error. I'm like, all right, that sounds like dog shit. Why does that sound like dog shit? And then watch a YouTube video, and there's like so many like YouTube videos out there now that like explain how to, you know, record or give you tips or plug certain plugins or certain things how to do and everything. And then, you know, once you get in there and you start doing it, then it's trial and error, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
so kind of a hobby that could lead to something.
Yeah, and I was doing some like television commercials and you know, just like little 30-second spots. I was doing stuff like that. I was recording my own music. I was recording some pretty boy Floyd stuff. I was recording, doing some editing, you know, like editing and some mastering and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what I do now, you know, with it. You know, I take the jobs on as they come, and it's more of like a hobby and a fun thing that I kind of do. I don't really do it for like, oh, I want to make money, but I mean, maybe, you know, maybe when I'm 60 years old, maybe I'll move to Vegas and just, you know, have a small little.
Seems like there's more and more studios popping up in Vegas.
Base or something like that, you know, and do
Kevin
something.
Churko and all these guys over there.
But I started, another thing that I started that's really taking up a lot of my time is management. I started 2 years ago.
Okay.
I opened up a management company, and like my biggest artist I have right now is Puddle Mud, and that takes up a lot of my time.
Oh boy. Keeping Wes sober.
Keeping Wes out of trouble, but you know what? It's kind of funny, you know. I mean, I know he got in so much trouble over the past month.
Right.
But the funny thing is like we've been recording the new album, and I think when he got his second DUI, I just got the mixes.
Yeah, you got to put somebody in charge to drive him. I think.
Well, yeah, I know. But
don't take the wheel.
And I was so angry, you know, about you know, the second one, and I was just like, God damn it. But I had just gotten the mixes from the new album, and I was like, I listened to it, and it just like, it gave me goosebumps. I was like, God, man, this freaking record is so freaking good, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I could be so angry at this guy right now and just smack him across the face.
Right.
But the music is so good, man.
Well, you know, they got a history, and like they say, you're only one great song away from people remembering how great they were.
This new record is going to be, it's got like 4 #1 hits on it. It really does. It's amazing.
So how many actually managing?
I'm 2 right now.
Okay.
2 right now. Another one's a porn star, which
Okay.
I'll just leave that alone right now.
Sure. So is that going to be a growth area for you? Or just selective on what
I would like it
happens?
to be. I would like it to be a growth area. I'd like to move into that area because I think I'm really good with that. I'm really good with helping facilitate, you know, an artist who needs the guidance,
Right.
and also needs. And I know so many people in the business now for, you know, promoters, radio stations, you know, the guys who do the pay-to-play and all that. I know everybody, you know, music producers, everything, you know, and I can cut corners to get things done and make things happen, you know. So we'll see. The true test will be is when this new Puddle of Mud record comes out, and if I can get that all over the radio and sell a good chunk of records again, then I'll feel validated as a manager.
Yeah, you'll have some leverage. Some other acts will want to come in and see what's cooking.
Exactly.
Definitely. Well, we talked about, before we got this started, about where the next superstars are going to come, because so many of the big bands out there came from the 70s and the 80s, and there's a worry that where are the bands today that are going to, you know, fill those arenas and stadiums. Give us some advice. You know, obviously the business is constantly evolving, so it's tough to know even next year how to do that. But creatively, what are some of your like 10 commandments? You know, the things you tell these bands they have to do to be able to, you know, find their niche, find their unique style, persevere when it seems like giving up's the only thing possible. You know, we know a lot of great bands. The Appetite for Destruction was about to be put on the shelf, you know, before a couple key moves with Alan Niven and stuff, and next thing you know, they're the biggest band in rock.
Right.
So what are some of your pointers?
I think one of the things is, I mean, there's got to be a reason why you're doing it in the first place. If you're doing it for the right reasons, which is for the love of what you're doing, then you're off on the right path right there. I mean, if you're doing it to make money, just get out of the freaking business, man. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
The money may come.
it's real hard. It may come, you know, but it might not come.
Yeah,
you know?
that's not the immediate payoff.
Exactly. You know, you gotta love what you do, and if you love and you believe in what you're doing, you know, just do it. Work hard at it. You know, hone your craft down. Don't follow the trends of what's going on out there. I think so many people make so many mistakes and trying, you know, all of a sudden like, oh, I'm gonna change the way we look. We need to change our sound a little bit here because this really isn't working, or this and that. You know, just stay true to yourself and who you are, and you know, work hard at what you're doing. I don't care if it's just, you know, locally. You know, I mean, you could think locally, but you know, act globally. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like you have to invest 24 hours a day into it. You know, 24 hours, 7 days a week into it. And I know it's hard, and you got to work other jobs to fund, you know, what you're doing and everything. But if this is the lifestyle that you choose and this is what you want, you know, be prepared to, you know, starve and live uncomfortable for quite some time.
Yeah, but if you get the enjoyment out of the right reasons, all that other extra stuff, it shouldn't be of great concern.
Exactly. I mean, you know, success.
Why do you need a new car when you're going to be on the road for the next 12 months?
Exactly. You know, you don't need that. Why do you need a new apartment? Why do you need a new bed? Why do you need a new bed? Why do you need this? I mean,
Right.
and you know, truly success is measured in your own eyes. You know, I mean, what some people might see as a success is completely different than what you might see as a success. So I, set your goals, in increments. Don't say I want to go from point A to point B. I mean, you have A, B, C, D, A, D. I mean,
yeah, be realistic.
Yeah, be a little realistic about what you're trying to do. And just try and I say try and build a local following somewhere. I mean, if you're doing it in LA, it's almost impossible with the local following. It's just really ridiculous.
Right.
But hopefully, if you're in some small city, a small town, or something like that, start off there. Work your ass off, and then just start venturing outside the city and playing and do that. I mean, work the internet. I mean, it's free. It's there. Make music videos. It doesn't cost that much.
Get good at all these.
Even if it's a shitty
self-contained.
music video, right? Be self-contained. Exactly. Be a DIY. Be a do-it-yourselfer.
Write great songs. Make the best recordings and videos you can.
Right. Make music videos. Do whatever you can to utilize what's out there right now. The internet, even though it's it's a double-edged sword with the internet.
Sure.
But yeah, do whatever you possibly can to get your music out there, get your name out there. It's free advertising, and you can hit so many people that way. Make friends with other bands, other artists that when they come through town. Open up for them. It's really important. Be part of the scene out there. Make friends. Don't make enemies. Don't talk shit about people.
Yeah, you never know. Again, who can be that bridge to your next tour, or somebody that absolutely will kill your opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, and just my motto was always just don't take no for an answer. People are so quick that the door closes in front of them. They're so quick to just give up.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to persevere. And you have to work really hard.
Yeah, I mean, just like a sports team, you're down 3 games to 1. You got to win 4 in a row, or whatever it is. Those are the true champions.
It seems impossible. But
you know what I mean?
People have done it.
The Vegas, the odds, everybody's betting against you, and you somehow pull it off.
Exactly.
And there's so many of these success stories like that. I remember when the Ramones first came out, Warner stuck them on the Black Sabbath tour. And they got pelted every night. I mean, just the boos were deafening. Forget about a break between songs. It was one into the other. I mean, don't even give them a chance to boo.
Right.
I mean,
but even though they probably did that, so many people probably knew the Ramones' name after that.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh yeah, we
even if you're the band everybody loves to hate."
We were throwing shit at them. Oh yeah, this band called the Ramones. We were just throwing stuff, spitting on them, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? They were talking about you.
Right.
So, if people are talking about you, and either whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's when they stop talking about you is when you really have to start worrying.
Sure.
That's when you go, oh, wow. No, I'm not relevant. Nobody cares about me anymore. Nobody gives a shit about me anymore to even talk shit about me.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So I know you got the Thrill Kills out there. This is just another extension of your creativity. Always working on new stuff.
That was just like a little punk record that I wanted to put out, and so I just did that. I put out a couple solo records. I'm working on new. I started a Pretty Boy Floyd record like 5 years ago, but then me and Steve didn't talk, for almost 4 years, and maybe hopefully one day before I die, that record will actually get finished. That'll be nice. I'm working on another solo record only because that's like my sanctuary sometimes when I go on the weekend or something like that. Instead of going out to a club somewhere on a Friday night or something, I might just roll into my studio and just get lost in what I'm doing, and the next thing I know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just forget about the world for that whatever it might be, the 8 or 9 hours, and I might be in there. I just forget about everything, and I'm just focused in on that. And it's kind of like it's kind of like a therapy.
Right. Absolutely, and I know you've seen so many bands over the years turn to hard drugs and alcohol, and in the touring business, I mean, it's impossible to keep up the pace and have a bad habit like that. And what do you tell these bands that think it's just an endless party?
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, you'll have a short life if you live that way.
And you're going to give a half-ass performance too.
And true, you're going to give a half-ass performance. It's hard to keep up like that, you know. And you know, I mean, but I can also relate a little bit to people who are doing drugs, because it really is very boring out on that freaking road. It's very lonely and it's very boring, and I understand what it is like to live out in a suitcase and go wake up in a different city every night, and you just sit there and you wait around all day until it's showtime. There's nothing to do.
Right.
So I can understand, and I can relate to somebody who is maybe pounding down the alcohol or pounding down some drugs or something like that. But you know, it'll catch up with you eventually.
Right. Yeah, you see more and more of these artists out there. They're sober, and they find different ways to, you know, let loose or spend their time. And hard to tell anybody what to do, but as the fans, if you want them to come back and see your show, if it's half-assed, they're not coming back.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you don't get, you know, 9 lives in this business, you know.
Bad news travels fast.
Bad news travels fast, and yeah, it's yeah, you can turn people off very quickly.
Right. I mean, it's a tough enough business to deal with when you're straight. I mean, dealing with some knuckleheads and crazy, you know, things only makes it harder.
Yeah, it does. You know, yeah. I mean, no, you know, look, people pay hard-earned money. People, you know, they work their asses off.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, they want to go see a show. I understand, but you know, maybe you're not feeling good that day. Maybe you're under the weather. Maybe something personal might have happened. But you know, it's like you got to try and set it aside, and for that, you know, whatever hour and a half that you're on that stage, you got to, you know, say, hey, you know what, I'm doing this for my fans, because I think what a lot of the artists forget is that without them, they have nothing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget, a lot of the artists truly forget that, you know, and they just, you know, they just take it for granted.
Sure.
And I think it's a really poor attitude that sometimes people have, you know, because, you know, those fans are the ones that are filling the seats and filling their pockets with money, paying their bills. Yeah. And without them, you know, you're truly nothing.
Yeah, you're going to lose money every night.
Yeah, you're nothing. And so, I mean, there's nothing more important to the fans. And I've known that a long time. I mean, even at the Cat House Live, I mean, we sat there for 3 hours in that scorching freaking heat out by the merch tent. And we took pictures and signed autographs.
Until the last person.
Until the last person was gone.
Yeah.
And I think we were the only band out there doing it.
Right. And that brings us in closing. Who are your heroes? You know, after the years you spent in the business, who do you truly admire, whether you worked with them or not, but you just look at the landscape and it's like, man, that dude or those guys, they fucking
well, the Ramones were obviously amazing. Never changed.
You can't turn on K-Rock without hearing a band influenced by the Ramones.
Never changed their look. Stuck to themselves. Never really got on the radio.
Right.
Never really played on the radio, but had a humongous fan base. That niche fan base. Toured in vans. Stayed at Motel 6s. You know, I mean, they were...
Didn't even see eye to eye that well, but still delivered a hell of a show every night.
Right, exactly. You know, I mean, that was one of the true great rock and roll bands, or punk bands, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
It was one of the true great bands.
And when they first came out, people say they couldn't play.
Exactly.
It was the same 3 chords.
3 chords. But you know what? I mean, Making Magic with just 3 chords over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just truly magical, you know? I mean...
it's like bubble gum. You don't have to reinvent the recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. I mean, so, I mean, and I mean, that's one of the bands that I admire.
Anybody else?
I used to truly admire Kiss.
Yeah.
Until they have the fake guys, and they're wearing makeup.
Right.
So
Didn't change the characters.
yeah, it didn't change the characters, and that kind of sucked, you know, because I was such a huge Ace fan.
Right.
You know? But I mean,
And we know Gene and Paul are going to step out of the equation at some point, and still have two other guys in there.
exactly, and you won't even know about it, right? You know,
It's
but
like a Saturday morning cartoon
Kiss was
show.
another band, you know, that busted their ass.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You know, in the early days, they busted their ass. And
Yeah,
I
they were in
remember
a
seeing
van and
videos, and they're playing in front of 10 people in San Francisco, but they're still putting on all the makeup, and they're putting on all their outfits. And
Gene's still blowing fire.
Show, and they're blowing fire, and they're doing everything, you know, and they're putting on their show. I mean, hey, you know, props. I mean, people were laughing at them, you know, clowns, you guys are clowns, you're wearing makeup.
Well, you probably heard this story. I love it. I tell people all the time. I guess their first gig, which was in the little art center or whatever there in New York, but the Village Voice completely blasted them. So it was the worst band they ever saw. And Gene hadn't shown up at the rehearsal hall, but you know, Peter and Ace and Paul, they're just like, it's it, man, it's over. They absolutely hate us. And Gene came in and he read it and said, that's the greatest thing I've ever read. Who's not going to want to go see the worst band ever in history just to see how bad they are? And if we can pull off a good show and people remember our songs, you know, it was their live album that really broke them.
Exactly, the live record, which was kind of a fake live record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a band that, you know, sounded unique as well. I mean, no one's really sounded like Kiss. No one's really sounded like the Ramones. I mean, people have like taken influences off them, you know. But those are just great bands, you know. I mean, I admire them for just being different.
Right.
You know, well, they were just being themselves, I guess. You know, is what they were doing. You know, but
they had a vision. They never wavered.
Exactly, never wavered. Right. Exactly. So.
You know, and of course Joan Jett. You know, the Runaways have all done different stuff, but look what Joan did from 40 years in a little garage band and just got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And,
amazing.
Yeah.
Joan Jett's an amazing artist as well too. Yeah.
That simple 70s British glam music, just so fresh, you know.
Exactly, yeah. Great. She's a great artist too. I mean, the Runaways, they were one album. You know. Yeah. I mean,
but the legacy, Lita Ford's still doing her thing. Everybody's out there. You know?
Exactly, the legacy, you know, that just like carries on. It's incredible, and you know, I mean, the music that just transcends generations and generations and generations.
Yeah.
It's just great, you know. And
there's a raw energy that's just undescribable. You either got it or you don't.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And the great feeling about it is like, you know, when you pass away, it's like hopefully the music that you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like a Motorhead comes out, and people try to figure out, is this punk? But they got long hair. I remember when AC/DC first came out, people were like, is it punk? Because the music was really raw, but they got long hair. So, like Motorhead, they blurred the line.
Exactly.
Is it punk? Is it metal? It's just rock. Like Lemmy says, we're Motorhead and we play rock and roll.
Exactly.
You know, but they influenced the Metallicas and the Megadeths and everybody that came after them.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody tries to put a label on something nowadays, you know, and it's like I can't even keep up with them. I don't even know what all these labels are anymore. I'm just like, it's just music.
Right.
And I can pretty much listen to everything and enjoy it, even if it's just for the production or just for the hook line or just the uniqueness of the sound of it or anything. It's like I'm really open-minded towards everything that I listen to, so I got a little bit of everything, you know.
Yeah, and with the Misfits, what do you think that mystique is? Because they've been through
I think
so much.
The two biggest logos of all time are Motorhead and the Misfits.
Yeah.
I mean,
the merch has got to keep them.
Kids wear that Crimson Skull.
Yeah.
And they don't even know who the freaking band is. You
right.
know? And they just wear it because it's cool, and they see so many other people wearing it, you know, so Motorhead.
Still sound like crazy at Hot Topic.
Exactly, you know, it's like the two biggest bands, I think the most recognizable logos is so crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But the Misfits, I don't know what it was, you know, it's like, it's another band that never got played on the radio, another band that always like just toured, you know, in vans and, you know, just went around and didn't really, I don't know, just a rawness and just a I don't care attitude.
Yeah, it was.
But I think that was the first band that really did like kind of like horror, like kind of like a punk rock horror kind of
theme
to it, you know. And nobody had did it at that time.
Yeah, a little bit of Kiss, a little bit of Ramones, a little bit of Black Flag, all that.
Yeah, I had a little bit of everything thrown into
Right.
it, but the main theme of it, I think, was a lot of like the earlier stuff. Obviously, was a lot of horror,
Right.
So it was kind of like the Ramones on 10.
Yeah,
With some,
like a little bit of the Gene Simmons demon in
horror
there.
lyrics,
Yeah.
And I think it was pretty appealing to. I don't know. There was a time there, I think, though, when nobody cared about the Misfits.
Yeah.
And then when the Gothic music started, the Gothic scene started to get a little bit more, and then a lot of people were citing the Misfits as influences.
Right. That symbol meant longevity and quality.
Exactly.
Yeah. KRISTY, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So many years. I know we could go on for hours, but appreciate everything. Best of luck with the new recordings, the management company, the agency, and keep inspiring and keeping those bands working, man.
Thanks,
we really
man.
appreciate
I
it.
do everything I possibly can to keep the rock and roll music alive, man. That's like that's my goal in life, till the day I die.
I love it. Thanks so much.